Hello there, and welcome to Community Life. Here we talk with the community experts about their life journeys and how they came into the community world. And today we have a conversation with Vicky Cumberbatch, the heavy drama watcher, tarot practitioner, tattoo and hot beverages lover, traveler, writer, volleyball player, and community development, engagement, and facilitation consultant. So, hi, Vicky.
Hi, wow, that was a lot of things. When someone else says it, it's like, damn, she does too much. Okay. Hi. Happy
That's
to be
exactly
here.
that's exactly how it meant to be. So it's totally okay. And tell me, please, how did people pronounce your surname before Benedict?
That's a great question. Here was my life. Wait, can I curse on here and stuff?
Up to you.
Okay. So in middle school, which is like ages 10 to like 14, it was come to church, come on back, come in her snatch, come. Yeah, it was terrible. And then Benedict came around, which, if you are actually interested, there is connection. So Benedict is English, Cumberbatch, the surname is English, and the English colonized Barbados, which is in the West Indies. It's like in the south of the Caribbean, closer to Venezuela. And sure, there were plantations there, and by and large, it was Cumberbatch owned. So if you do find black or brown Cumberbatches, most likely there's a connection to the island of Barbados. And Benedict spoke about this in his interviews leading up to 12 Years a Slave and how his family was part of that moment of history. So however it is, however people take it, it's still interesting. So
Wow, so you are relatives.
I mean, could have been. Who's to say? We have the same last name. He would be like, Cumberbatch, it's lit. And I love England. I don't know. So maybe I don't know.
How did you feel about it? About how people pronounced your surname?
Oh, it was really embarrassing. And I am not a particular fan of it till today, just because it's just people can't, right? Like people can't do it or they don't take the time. It's phonetic. It should be easy. You could just break it up. And I always was thinking to myself, God, I can't wait till I can change my last name. Like when I get married, if I do, it'll definitely be. So my boyfriend's last name is Andreevich, which is not that much better than Cumberbatch, to be honest. So I think the universe was just like, bitch, you better keep it. So that's where we are. Meanwhile, my mom's last name is Carol. She never changed her last name. Yeah, great. Great.
It's really fun. I guess you have to ask your boyfriend to change his last name. So,
Like Jones. Like, let's just keep it simple.
okay, Vicky Jones. Okay, got it.
It's easy. That was a great question.
Let's start from the beginning. So, tell me about your parents. Who are they?
My parental unit, what a good one. Okay, so I'm an only child, and as you can tell, my dad is black from Barbados. My mom's white. They're Irish, and it was a big controversy in like 3 or 4 years ago when my mom did ancestry.com and found out that she's actually 51% English. And the family was not thrilled because they are heavily identified with Irish. So they just said, no, we're Irish. I don't know about blood. I don't know about DNA. I don't know about genetics. Like none of that works. So that was hilarious. And my mom had like the whole tree lineage ancestral line in our hallway upstairs. And she had gotten all these books from like the US archives and so on because she was able to track her ancestry like back to when they were brown again. I always make fun of her. So I think that's really cool. But yeah, so my mom was a teacher. She's retired. She was a special ed high school teacher and then guidance counselor. And my dad was he retired as a police captain from Hoboken, New Jersey. So he was a first responder as all of the men in my life were at 9/11. So on September 11th in New York. I'm from New Jersey, so like close enough that we could smell the soot that day. Like that's how close we were. Definitely had friends and family that walked home from there just to like provide proximity, distance, understanding. My dad is one of 6 and my mom is one of 5, and they met when they were 14. My dad was best friends with one of my mom's brothers, and he's been in love with her since they were 14. And she didn't say yes until they were 35. So she was like, I don't know. And also, well, you may not know, but I was born in 1990. I'm 32. So in the 90s in Northeast US, you would think that the racial integration, we would have gotten a little bit farther down the line than where it ended up being. And Hoboken was at that time primarily like Puerto Rican, Irish, Italian, Black. And so it wasn't unusual that you'd have a mixed group of friends, but once that marriage thing happened, it was a bit problematic. So that was a bit of a problem in my family. So I grew up pretty alone, like without cousins, no siblings, no pets. Like very much just us. And so I sought out groups and community and things, which was really imperative for me. And also because my mom was a teacher, she got 3 months off. And plus vacation, it's like constant vacation over here for teachers. And my dad had started working when he was like 17. So by the time I came around, he was like able to just take off left and right. So I traveled a lot. I probably traveled outside of the country twice a year, if not 3 times a year, every year since I was like 4 months old. So now that I'm 32, it's great. I could talk about it. People are like, yeah, oh my God, wow, you've had so many experiences. But as a kid, none of my friends understood that. They were like, why don't you just go to the Jersey Shore and call it a day? Like, why do you have to go to Russia? Why do you have to go to China? What are you doing? So it was a bit difficult to like relate in a lot of ways because travel is the love of my life. And it is a result of my mom. She just went to Istanbul and she had a trip planned for Bulgaria and Romania, but that was, the pandemic thing. So she had to postpone, but she'll go by herself. She's like, if no one wants to go with me, I don't care. And I respect that. I respect that. I do that to my boyfriend. And he's like, I guess, but this is a little different. And he's from Montenegro. So, and he was shocked that I have been there. And I also studied that region in college. So I think that made us closer. But anyway, you can really get me to go on a tangent. You're a good active listener. That's it about my parents.
Okay, I get it about your mom. And what about your dad? Do he also likes traveling?
I think what ended up happening there was he loved my mom so much that he wasn't really given an ultimatum, but it was more along the lines of, she said, this is the lifestyle I'm going to lead. You can join me or not, but when I come back, I'll be here. You know what I mean? And I think he got like his first passport and everything as a result of being with my mom. So he enjoys following her lead on travels, and she really creates and curates beautiful trips. I mean, one of the best trips we've been on together was Israel, Jordan, and Egypt. And it was like a 4-week jaunt. It was right before Arab Spring. It was wild. The energy was crazy. And we were staying at people's houses. I mean, we were immersing, and that's the way to do it. So with that, he loves it. But they're not like small people, they're both tall, so they don't fit in the seats, and getting around the airport is annoying because people are slow. And my dad hates that part. He hates the like travel part, but the immersion, the connecting with people across languages, the connecting with people through deeper conversations and understanding. Yeah, he lives for that.
You told no cousins, no siblings, and no pets. Okay, but why no pets?
Because we traveled so much, and my parents did not want to pay for whatever, wherever you put those pets, which is hilarious because now I am the person that when people go on vacation, they leave their dogs with me, which I have a dog right here right now who's not mine. And I get paid though. So I'm just like, I'm going to change that around and have dogs, but not own them.
And tell me about this stuff when people leave in your dog for you. Is it kind of you live in their house and watch for their how it works?
So I've done both. Right now, there's an app, shocking, called Rover, and people go on there to basically book time for when they're leaving somewhere, anywhere from a night to a month, and they just don't want to bring their animals. So they can drop their animals at your house because I rent this house, so I have a backyard, which is why I get a lot of requests. But I've also stayed at people's houses and like done house sitting, which there's no monetary exchange. And because I lived in a van for a year, so I I did a lot of house sitting because living in a van was not for me. Yikes.
We will talk about it a little later. And on LinkedIn, you wrote that as an only child, I've harbored a deep yearning for a tight-knit community around me. Tell me more about it.
Yuri, you're good. Yes, so that's true. And um there are many ways to go here. So the first thing that comes to mind is that I would create really deeply attached relationships with friends, possibly in retrospect too too reliant on the friendship to give me it all that I sought after. And those friends typically had siblings and more people in their family. So they didn't have as much time availability as I had and wanted from them. I wanted to be one person with whoever that was, essentially. And I didn't attend summer camp, which in also retrospect, maybe that would have been a good idea. I didn't get into kind of counseling until a few years later, and that I saw the absolute crucial and integral nature that that could have on the growth of a child. And people from other countries would typically take up jobs and like have a quick visa to be able to work at those camps. So I saw that and was like, wait, this is it right here. Like, this is what it should be. This is what always should be happening. Like, kids should not just have off during the summertime. Like, they should be off from academics, but not off from continuing to grow and learn and develop and understand socializing and so on in different ways and their identity and da da da. So I had worked at a Jewish summer camp, and I then found out that there was such a prevalence of Jewish summer camps in particular. And I mean, look, this is a stereotype. I accept that, but I think it's fairly true in that Jewish people do really like revere education in all ways that it comes about, not just academics. And you can see how clearly that value is taken in people that see themselves as Jewish by allowing their kids to go to summer camp from like age 5. Sleepaway summer camp, you know, like a big deal. And what I saw from these kids when I was at that summer camp was really just shocking to me. And I thought, wow, they know what the fuck they're doing. So that's something I always thought would have been a nice necessity and I would like to give to my children one day. But the deep connection with other people has always been a yearning of mine. And I found out when I was like 21 that I had been a twin and that twin was lost. And I think that there is something there that is subtle and subconscious and innate in my bones that seeks that like lost connection. So I've had to, you know, work through that. I'm not saying that working in community fills that gap, obviously, but I don't think it's a mistake or a surprise that that's what I've leaned toward.
Does community field helps you?
Working in it or being in them?
Both.
I think working in community itself provides me, well, it serves me and contributes to my life with and through the ideas of empathy and recognizing that non-judgment and not putting people in boxes is paramount. I think being culturally New Jersey, those are some things that are defaulted in me. I can be judgmental and I can be flippant with people. And I think that working in community has and does allow me to take a pause and recognize that what you see of people's actions is not always the truth. What you feel and the vibe and the energy that you receive from people, which can happen in a second, is more true. And I think that recognizing that has allowed me to delve a bit deeper when it feels like that person might receive me in a more honest and organic way than trying to force like small talk to get to the point, because you can tell, right? You can just tell. And
Yeah.
I tend to rely on my ability to tell that. And if I get it wrong, I will acknowledge and apologize if that's necessary. Sure, it's happened. But I think that, and I just said this earlier today, like you either win or you learn. I don't feel like there's a failure in that. It's further recognition. And then being in communities, yeah, I mean, I've never not been in community, and I've never not been in group threads, and I've never not been in groups of friends. And I definitely tend toward it. I play volleyball. I'm in a volleyball group. I'm in Girls Love Travel, which is my favorite Facebook group. That's probably the longest community I've been in. And I like to feel like I belong. I like, like all the reasons we're in community. I like to feel like I fit, like I belong, like I'm not a weirdo, like what I'm thinking is not crazy. Those are the things I want too. So, and those are paramount for me. And yeah, I think it serves me greatly.
And are there any things that you understood that you are crazy?
Not yet. Everybody's so kind, by and large.
Yeah. Do you usually avoid those small talks?
Yes, can you tell? I hate small talk. I mean, there's a place for it. So let me rephrase. There's a place for it, right? If there's an event and everybody's invited and it's lightly business casual, you got to like start somewhere, right? Because you don't even know who the audience is. But if there was going to be a Communiverse event and I already knew that there was going to be people that you've had these talks with, I might feel more safe to skip the front part and just be like, yeah, so anyway, I heard you had a twin and you lost it. Like, what are we saying? Me too. And did you read this book? And, I might be more willing to do all that and be my loud, almost in your face, sometimes confronting self, which I have to intentionally jack back more times than not, because I have been told that I can be perceived as much, and that is something that I am not going to apologize for or eradicate, but I am going to recognize it and when it might be uncomfortable for whoever I'm with, because that's not the point. So yeah, there's a lot of 2022 is like learning year, okay, introspection. Yes, I know.
It's crazy here, frankly speaking. Yeah. So,
It's crazy.
do you apologize sometimes?
Yeah, it is not hard for me to apologize. It is not always easy for me to feel the apology. So if it seems like you want an apology, sure, it's no skin off my back to be like, yeah, I'm so sorry. So anyway, but to have integrity and recognize like I had some role to play in the way you're feeling and it's not great, and or you feel offended or insulted or left out, then that apology would be more honest and more real and have a bit more to it than I'm sorry.
Mhm.
I would then go out of my way to say, I apologize for ... Not for making you feel, because that's not on me. But what is on me, in my opinion, is my choice in what I did do
Mhm.
and what that could have done toward you. It's up to you to determine your feelings based upon that, right?
Yeah.
I can't, I mean, those are valid regardless, and there's only so much I can do and say about it. But, if I slighted you, and if the remark I just made about stereotyping earlier made you feel some sort of way, and you shared that, the fact that you shared it means that I should now apologize. And I believe and feel that. But if you didn't, I won't.
Yeah. What is something you did that your parents said and you would never do it again?
What's something that I did and my parents said not to and I wouldn't do it again?
Your parents said to do you something and you would never do it again.
Go to college? That is the first one that comes to mind.
Why?
There are many things that I feel about higher education, particularly in the United States. And I mean, I'm curious, Yuri, did you go to college? Did you go to university?
Yep.
Did you go right after secondary school?
Yep.
Okay. Is it common to take a gap year from your country though?
No, it's like a constant path. So
Okay.
you or either you in or you are like loser or something like that.
Okay. Okay. So that's definitely different. My impression was that in Europe, by and large, which is a continent, not a country, but still overall, my thought was gap years and going to school part-time and also having a job was much more commonplace than it is here, where college is it's a cloistered, odd, you are separated from the real world set of 4 years, especially if you go for the full 4 at one time.
Mhm.
And you may not have a job, either your parents paid, or you need loans, or you need loans, or you need loans, and you're constantly nervous and worried. And the whole point is so that you get a job that pays those loans off, right? And I mean, we could go down this rabbit hole of my thoughts on indoctrination, but that is at a high level how I feel about a lot of higher education institutions in the United States. And I did go to college. I did go right after school. My mom was a guidance counselor, so it was a given. Like they didn't have to tell me. There was no question. Whereas, I'm a traveler. Of course, I would have taken a gap year had I thought that was even an option, or gap years, because at the end of the day, college will always, always, always be here ready for someone to pay for it. It doesn't matter if it's 75. But I went to the University of Maryland, and I went for my bachelor's degree in international development and conflict management, and I got it in 3 years. And I wouldn't say it was easy, but it was easy. And also, I got no jobs after college, and it was a really depressing 2 years afterwards, because it really fucked with my self-worth and my identity. Because up to that point, I'd been a trophy child, right? Like totally born in the 90s. Everybody gets a trophy. I'm sure you've heard of that. Or I don't think that happened outside of the US. I don't know. Everybody gets a trophy, even if you're 5th place, and you're worth it, and you can do anything, and blah, 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 which in the real world isn't true. So luckily I had enough credits in history that I was able to just take and pass in the state of New Jersey this exam to be a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
But because every woman in my life was a teacher, so I just thought, I can't get a job. It's the recession. It was 2011. Certainly not in DC. I had to move back home, you know, the whole thing. And luckily I had no loans. My parents did pay. I am fortunate for that. And had I done it again, I would have waited to go to college and hoped that maybe an employer that I had would have paid for it.
Yeah.
And later, after I'd had some more solo travel and life experience and even work experience before I went back. Because at this point, I just don't see a graduate degree in my future. I've tried twice and I just felt, nah, they're giving me a different agenda and it's not what's on the syllabus. So I'm going to go ahead and pause and let life school me. But you know, you can't fault my parents, right? They're from the 50s. So going to college was, I mean, even a woman going to college was a big deal to get to that point. So of course they just wanted to continue that idea, but it seemed forced and I just don't fuck with that.
Yeah. When you were growing up, you hang out more with boys or girls?
I'm definitely a boys girl because I was an athlete. And I did have a lot of girlfriends and I was in cliques and groups. And dare I say, I was like the nice one in the clique. I hope to remember, but you know, feel free to rectify my memories, whoever does watch this. Yeah, I definitely had more close guy friends in high school and in college. And now I have more close girlfriends as an adult.
Yeah, you have a boyfriend.
Yeah. There's that too. Right. I have a boyfriend and he's cool and all. And he's like, you can have friends that are guys, but like he's also had more friends that are girls. So I think that we balance each other like in that way.
Why do you like tattoos?
Why do I like tattoos? Maybe
it's not the right word. Why do you love them?
No, it's the right word and it's interesting. I got my first tattoo when I was 16 and that was more out of like rebellion. And I just have a new tattoo right now. Healing. And I've had a lot of really impactful, odd, surprising experiences in my life, and mainly due to traveling so much and being around such wildly differing types of people that I feel like my experience treasure box is robust, and so much so that I don't want to ever forget a particular feeling from a time because I don't really have a great memory, and I won't go back into my journal and read it again. And also I'm currently working on, like, I feel very disconnected from my body most of the time. So, and I would go as far as to say many women may feel that, in that at least I have truncated my feelings for logic and analysis as opposed to being in my body and knowing what those things feel like. So that is of high import to me. And when I see particular tattoos, they bring the feeling back almost immediately, which was the point. And it still works for me. And everywhere that my tattoos are located on my body have a purpose as much as the thing that they are. So for me, it's been always really intentional, even though I feel like I'm losing space, which is funny, but it's like, I don't have any sleeves. I don't have a whole back piece, right? Like they're just intentionally placed. So yeah, I love them because they bring me back to how I feel, which is not always easy for me to grasp.
So what is the latest one about?
So the latest one is a large bare tree, no leaves. And it is from, I had an out-of-body experience when I was 15, and I died twice and was in the hospital for 3 days, and I had the quintessential, I don't know, like I was elsewhere experience. And I've always remembered it, and I've always wanted to commemorate that moment because I chose to return. So I waited until I was most ready to get something that would represent, which feels like right now, because it's this year of I'm out here learning, doing, being introspective and honest with everybody. So yeah, that's, you're hitting the questions, Yuri, I have to say.
Do you remember that feeling when you chose to return?
Yes. What do you really want to know?
I don't know. How did it feel? It's hard, you know, so.
Look, I'll tell you this. I was in the hospital. It was a teaching hospital. So there was like a lot of students, like a lot of doctors in rotation. Like they didn't get their full medical degree yet around, trying to figure out what had happened. And I remembered all that. And I flatlined once for 30 seconds. And I just had kind of this golden thread from my body that was on the gurney up to this corner of the room where I just watched everybody trying to figure out what was happening around me. And my mom was on my side holding my hand, whispering to me. And I heard her in my ear, but I was up here. And then I came back and in my body, and it was all the same. And then I flatlined again. And that seemingly was, is everything fine?
Yeah.
Is the connection fine? Okay. When I came back, it was 3 days later in the hospital, and I recalled in that entire time that I was in this other place, and it was white, like a really, really bright glare. Bright, like you needed sunglasses, and I just heard the voice like, you know, it's not your time yet. And I was looking at this tree, and then I just woke up, and it was very odd, and I felt like I couldn't speak to anybody about it because I would sound crazy, and I wasn't religious, and I wasn't spiritual yet at that time. I had left the Catholic Church, and I felt elated that I had an experience that almost validated and solidified me being here, having this like experience on Earth, but also deep afflicted and confused and unsure if it happened and wondering if it was real. And I would say if anybody wants a visual, the scene of Harry Potter gets killed and he's in the train station and it's really bright.
Okay, so let's just continue with another question.
Okay.
Let's just go on. So once you posted on Instagram a picture of with steps of creative process. So it was like, first, this is awesome. Second, this is tricky. Third, this is shit. 4, I am shit. 5, this might be okay. And 6, this is awesome. Do you usually go through all of these steps?
I think I do, and most of them are much shorter than the this is shit step, which seems to take up a lot of space. And I'd have to say also that I just feel like people will always tell me that I'm wrong, but I feel like I'm not very creative. And I've been trying to review this memoir that I've been writing for 10 years. And I'm actually rereading it for the first time ever. And it is not fun. It's not cathartic. It is me constantly reading it and being like, this is terrible. Who gives a flying frig? Blah, blah, blah. But then I read memoirs of my own and I'm like, right, anybody could really say the same about any work that they do. But all the greatness that we have in the world, from art, from music to, I mean, anything, is because people got to that last stage and they were like, you know what? Someone's going to see this somewhere. And even if they don't, I'm putting it out there. And I feel like that's the most important part.
Does inspiration come to you when you are a little bored?
Does it come to me when I'm a little bored? Oh, I would love to say how often I'm bored. Inspiration comes in the shower most often. I am big on the like water connection for some reason. So I call them shower thoughts, and I used to live near the water, because I'm from New Jersey. So we have like the actual ocean. And now I live in Denver, which is landlocked, and I have to like go to the lake or something. It's quite far, certainly not the ocean. I have noticed a difference. I have noticed a glut of inspiration and creativity that I may have had a little bit more of idealistically on the coastline, but a bath or a hot spring or a shower can certainly do the trick, I have found.
And what about rain?
Rain. No, I don't like being dirty. I wish, honestly.
Yeah. Once you wrote, I'm almost too empathetic and can put myself in nearly anyone's shoes. Does it hurt you?
Yes, it certainly does, which is why it's another reason why I think working in community is of service to people that might be more like me, who are unable to curate boundaries. It has forced me to do that. And it goes beyond my work life, and it's also my personal life, right? Which is new and unusual, and not everybody's thrilled about it. But I think being empathetic and also being an empath, which is interesting, and this goes back to my like disconnected from my body. I didn't realize how much I would take on other people's energy in a space because I didn't know what it felt like. I didn't understand the feelings that it was happening. I would suddenly feel like I got really sad or got really depressed or got like really energetic, but it wasn't me, but I needed to logically get it and it wasn't happening. So I think it affected me a lot prior to me starting to do the work of recognizing what's mine and what someone else's, and how to give other people their space, and me being okay with saying, hey, I can't be in this space anymore. I gotta go. And allowing myself those outs kind of, I think, have helped me manage.
What do people usually feel or say when you act that way?
Sometimes people feel affronted. If it's like unexpected, I kind of just abruptly say, okay, I'm going to be at it, which is very me. I can be very abrupt, and I can be very objective and not have emotion in it. So this is 100% something that I talk about with my boyfriend a lot, because he's like, do you feel anything right now? Like, the way you just said that is crazy. And I'm like, interesting. So no, I don't recognize it always in the moment, but sometimes people feel affronted. Sometimes people are grateful because they wanted it to end, but they like didn't know how to just do it. which is when the abruptness comes in helpfully. I think also other people just are curious and they're like, oh, well, what's happening? Like, why do you feel that way? What's going on? Why do you feel you have to go? Blah.
Mm-hmm.
I would say those are the top three most common reactions.
You are a Capricorn, and who is your boyfriend?
He's a Libra.
Okay.
Balance, fairness, wishy-washy, can't make a decision. Yeah. Yes. It's fun and games.
What what photos do you like most? When you are posing or when a photo was made without you knowing it?
Oh, I would love a good candid photo that didn't get my double chin. That would be the best. But actually, a few of my favorite photos are ones that were taken professionally, but like constantly for 2 solid minutes, and I just did other shit.
Mm-hmm.
And then I didn't know what was gonna happen. So I like those. Those are the ones you see that is like my ears are crooked, and I'm just seeing my glasses be like this, and I just think it's hilarious. I'm trying to put them in my hair. Like the photo on my LinkedIn and stuff, like those photos come from a situation like that where I love them, which is why I use them all the time, because I'm like, these are the best photos of me. They give my full self to the camera.
Got it. Now I know what photo to use for a picture for this community life
Oh
episode.
yes.
What was the hardest conversation you had at the dinner table on Anderson Street?
Well, the Bill of Rights conversation, without a doubt. That one was so hard. Prior to so with Anderson Street, we were able to have an art studio where we could film for free. It's like a friend of a friend. And we would pay her in cigarettes. And my mom would come, and she was our production assistant, and she would make the meal. So while she was cooking the meal there, or had already brought it, my dad would engage in conversation about the topic lightly. And my parents are opinionated and don't care what people think, whereas I still do a bit. And so especially with the Bill of Rights, and especially we were filming that during Trump's presidency, and we had people of varying ethnic backgrounds and cultures and upbringings. It was already hot before we even had the camera rolling. And you'd anticipate, because it's typical, I'm brown and a female and young, says people looking at me, and they think I vote this way, I must be upset at this policy, But you don't know, actually. And I wouldn't be afraid of sharing with you how I do feel, but you're not gonna ask, and we're not gonna have this conversation. So the Bill of Rights, there's 10. And we thought we would get to at least 5 in one episode, and then the next episode would have the rest. And we got to 2 in 4 hours, because people were just, it went truly like this. People were incensed, and then they were feeling each other, and then they were like, damn, there's no way out, but oh God, I hate this, right? Up and down. And we always provided a few libations just to keep people loose in the situation. And there was one woman, and she, this is online, so I don't want to. There was a woman in our group who was there that inevitably at the end of the day, and everybody signs a waiver and things like that. So it's all this, and it was a company, so it was pretty legit. Mm-hmm. And almost right after we finished, 2 days later, we're cutting. We're this is gonna be the best episode we've had. And she said, "You're gonna need to cut out parts A, B, C, and D, because I said too much, and my father is really important to me, and he still works in that space with these people that I mentioned, and I really can't have that." Even though no names were mentioned, mm-hmm. But she felt her face, because it was a web series. It wasn't a podcast where you could just block someone's face out. I was so pissed. And I really tried to talk to her. Inevitably, we were able to take out less than what she'd asked for originally, and she was okay with that because what she shared was imperative, right? Like it was about viewpoints of people from different cultures, viewpoints of people and different cultures and how they work in the professional world across borders. It was like really thought-provoking, impactful, significant, mind-changing storytelling, which is the point, right? Like Anderson Street was about telling stories because what you know to be true in your estimation in life is not necessarily true across the board. That's why it is not objective. Everything is subjective. So clearly I'm very passionate about that. So yes, that was the hardest because I just couldn't believe how little we got to, how much was said, and then how much people were not happy with what they said because they didn't want to be viewed as da 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 da, right? So their honesty came out unexpectedly. And that has a lot more to be said than the content that was in the episode.
You should have told them that they cannot
I know.
delete what they told. So
I know, and I wanted to, but I didn't know like what was allowed and what wasn't. It's weird.
Nah,
Right? Like
definitely.
you start this initiative, you start this creative endeavor, and you don't really know what the laws are. Like, I don't know, could she sue me? I don't know. So
Yeah.
it was just a weird moment, but we got past it anyway.
What are your rules to handle hard conversations?
Ooh, so first of all, I'm being looked at very saltily by this dog who's just staring at me like a stoic sphinx, like, bitch, if you don't get off there and play with me. So that's what's happening in my visual. Hard conversations are important to me right now in this moment. Literally, I'm having intentional hard conversations. So it's interesting that you asked that because I don't think I wrote anything about that anywhere. But right now I'm in the end part of a transformational leadership course, and clearing conversations is part of it. And these span from like your professional, your personal, even to the like if you have a little tiff with someone in the grocery store, right? And there's a framework which is adapted a little bit from Nonviolent Communication, which is a great book and framework, and then theirs. So it's like sharing the observation as objectively as possible without emotion and without feelings and without blame. The facts are, I noticed that, when you film this, you don't turn off the noise canceling. You do whatever the opposite is. And as a result of that, I feel like I'm not listened to, like I'm unheard, and I'm not understood because I thought we'd discussed this before, and it seems like you chose intentionally not to listen. And the story that I'm telling myself from that is that I don't matter and that I'm disrespected. Okay, so then it's like that, and then it goes into my request. So with that, my request of you is to just, can you add an additional step when we are about to do this recording, putting a checkbox that you've discussed this with me each time so that we can both be sure that we talk about this thing that I have a problem with. Do you feel like that's something that can be done? Blah, 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 blah. And then they like share the stuff. And then you can ask, do you have any requests of me? Like, is there anything else you'd like to say that I'm not really measuring up with either, or we're having miscommunication, but we didn't really realize? So that is new for me of this year, like that framework and having it in mind. And also living. So prior to Dushan, I hadn't had a boyfriend in 10 years or partner. And I dated, but like I was traveling and I didn't have time for that. And so when we started dating, he's very passionate and emphatic and knows what he wants and will just share it. And I resented that a lot because I didn't know what I wanted and I didn't know how to share it, and I didn't know how to like fight well or like bicker or argue. And he does, and he's all in here, right? So he's like fast, and
Mhm.
I'm like starting to stutter, and I don't know my point anymore, and I don't know how to feel, and I'm just crying because I don't even know how to get it out. And living with him in a van, okay, was a lot, but also it was really important for my growth in how to just fight better, how to argue my point, think about my point, get it out, or possibly say, you know what, I can't do this right now. We need to come back to this later, which I never thought that was an option in my whole life. I never thought the like pause, let's come back to it was an option. So between that and this framework that I'm learning in this kind of like 8 to 10 month period has been, I would say, life changing, because really there's need for these kind of conversations often. Like if you have people in your life at all, like there's going to be shit you don't see eye to eye. And what you think matters and they think it matters too. So like inevitably you're going to have to talk about it. And it has been really excellent. I mean, we had a clearing conversation last night, which I didn't quite stick to my framework, and I faked my apology. So I had to return to it, and I acknowledged it. I'm much more on the acknowledgement tip than I am on the apology tip. I'm like, you know what? I acknowledge that I did this and it made you feel like this. And that's not my intention, but intention doesn't matter here. Impact matters. And my impact to you was subpar. So I'm willing to learn right now. And that has been a big difference too. Like, I'm willing to receive your feedback at this time. So go ahead. And that feels fair and real.
Who started that conversation? The last one you had.
Who started it? He did. I was passive aggressive, and he said, "This is how you just made me feel," and I was like, "It was it was barely a comment, but that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It matters how he was impacted." And I had to take a break and then come back and be like, "Okay, go for it. I'm here. I'm fully here. Let's do it." It was like 2 hours.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go to your van life. Why the van life was cool for you for about 20 minutes?
Did you read that blog post? I'm dead. Thank you. Damn, Yuri, that was really a sad time. Like, I dreamed about living in a van for like 3 years prior to me getting to do it. So it was a goal of mine. And to be fair, I thought I was going to do it myself. And I thought that I'd be working remotely and like just do my own thing.
Mm-hmm.
I was not by myself. And I was unable to continue working remotely because I was so overwhelmed. And we worked together outside doing commercial surveying around the country. Those are important factors. Like, if I were to do van life again differently, it may work better for me, but the way that we did it, it did not. And I would say, like, I kind of told Dee about the van, and then he was like, all right. And we'd been living in New Rochelle, New York. And then I just found a van and I went and got it with my parents. And it was like 11-hour drive away. And I did tell Dee, but I don't think he took me seriously. And we were like several months into our relationship. Now we're 3 years, but then it was like a few months. And I just came back with the van. And I spent like a small fortune on the van, right? It's like nearly $50,000. So I was like, yeah. So we have this van. I'm going. You're more than welcome, but you don't have to. And that poor man, I do this to him. And he just was like, okay, so you put me in a rock and a hard place, but I choose you. So like, we'll figure it out. And I was like, correct. So he found a job which allowed us to literally do this. Like, they only hired people that lived in their vehicles, basically. So it was for us, right? Right. Mm-hmm. And most people had RVs, though, with AC. That's important. We didn't. We had a van. It was small, and there were no windows, and we didn't have AC. And we went to the Midwest, which I don't know if you've been to the Midwest, but it is like like, I don't even know how to, it's just hot and sweaty and bugs, and you cannot breathe, and you go to sleep naked and you still have too much clothing on. So
Yeah.
it was not it. And we didn't eat well. We were always on the run, like always on the road. We slept a lot of times on campus of where we worked, which was like very masculine, very truck drivers, diesel running all night long. We couldn't open the back door because it couldn't be seen that we lived in our vehicle. So I never felt like I could go outside like truly by myself. So there was like safety and security of an issue, which never actually was an issue, but it was the perception, right? And we had a composting toilet, which can be disgusting and like the hot. So it was a lot. It was really a lot. D is 6'5". I'm 5'10". We're big people. It's just not enough space. And like, I'm an only child. I need my space and alone time. He also needs his space and alone time. There's no door, like there was no privacy. So inevitably what happened was pretty quickly, I was like, listen, I need a hotel room, like just for a night. I just need some AC. I need to lay down and put my headphones on and not even look at you. And he was like, me too. And then I found out about house sitting, and that changed the game. Then I found out about house sitting. That's an app, and we were able to stay at people's homes. So we just like then took the van to people's homes and did the job as though it was like 9 to 5. And we did that for a while until we rolled into Denver, and I looked around and I honestly was like, I've been depressed this whole time. And I had just started working with a coach, like a life coach type person, not a therapist, right? Like someone else. And we had our first call, and I'll never forget. And she was like, I don't know if you need me or if you need to get a quick psychiatric evaluation, because this is a lot. And I was like, whoa. She said I need to be medicated. That's crazy. And that just made it very real. I was like, you know what, my environment is not working. So I walked around Sloan's Lake here in Denver, and I was like, we just gonna have to make this work, because that isn't working. And D was on board again. I mean, that boy is truly ride or die. So he was like, all right, we'll figure it out. As I tell this story, I just am envisioning myself sounding so impulsive and annoying, and I act very single, which many of those things are true, but I just am hoping that I'm working my way out of those defaults, because it is unfair at the end of the day.
Who was driving?
Not me. I would have loved to drive, but D loves to drive more than me, so he was doing all the driving, which is fine.
And what did you enjoy the most?
I loved some of the people that we met that we got into really interesting conversations with when I skipped the small talk and was like, so listen, it doesn't look like there's any people in this city. What happened? What's going on? And we would like stand on a sidewalk for 45 minutes talking to someone about like what's going on in their world, right? In this other region of the US that we don't know, because we're just like from New York. So we only know what we know. And also we went up to the Upper Peninsula, which is in super upstate Michigan, like along Canada. And Dee and I had never heard of this place. And it's like a coveted, cherished region for the people that live in Michigan and Wisconsin. And it's like beautiful cliffs and, you know, the lakes, the Great Lakes, obviously, like Lake Superior and Lake Michigan. And we went kayaking and we did all that kind of thing. We went like actual camping in the van, finally, where we could open the thing and live the life we wanted to live the whole time. That is one of the best memories for sure. Or like popping up the hammock on a tree and like part of the van just at like a marina, because who knew, but we could just park in marinas. Okay. So we like learned a lot of places that you could just go legally and just like read for the day, those were lovely. When we could cook outside, that was the best. When we could cook outside, chef's kiss.
What do you think about Atomic Habits?
I think it's a lot of people love that damn book, and I'm still trying to figure out why. Maybe I'm being dense or something. I don't know, but I got the point, right? I got the point. I understand. I am habitual. We're all habitual. I understand it's small, micro steps to get to the bigger step. I don't know. I guess I just thought, like, does this have to be spelled out? I don't know. Am I being a bitch about it? I don't know. I feel bad because people love that book. And I'm just like, I feel like How to Win Friends and Influence People is way more impactful and significant than like this one. Or this book called Rest, which I recently just read and was like, why is no one talking about this book? It's one of the best. And especially when all of us are entrepreneurial and working at startups and burning the fuck out, like, oh, who knew? If you take a nap, if you take a walk in the middle of the day when you're like in the zone and you pause, you may even find yourself more infiltrated with inspiration and thoughts and ideas. Duh, but we don't like give ourselves the time to just be restful.
I feel like I have to read that book, you know?
You have to read that book. And then we have to talk about that book because no one's talking about it. I want to talk about it.
Cool. So deal. I will read it and we will talk about it for sure.
Yes. Book club. Love it.
Once you post a picture, take a deep breath and remember who the fuck you are. So who are you?
You'll love this one. You'll love this one. I am a strong, compassionate, exuberant leader. And that is on Post-its all around my room. And I say it aloud to myself every day because I cannot forget who the fuck I am. And that's the truth. That is the truth. That's how I want to show up every day, at least the majority of the day.
You know, I wish to have the sky as the limit to our conversation, but time is the limit. So let's jump to the rapid fire questions.
Oh shit, okay.
Ready?
I don't know.
Let's do it. Own a dog or dog sitting?
Dog sitting.
Spring or autumn?
Autumn.
What is your favorite song playing just now in your mind?
My favorite song right now is Sugar by Shaka Khan. Dead.
What is your favorite color?
Green.
If you were a superhero, what superpower would you have?
Probably mind reading. Yikes.
Who do you learn from in the community world? One person.
Oh, I learned from Marjorie Anderson.
Name two people who I should invite to talk about their community life.
I would say my mentor, Elisa Vigil. She'll be hard to get to, and she may not want to be on camera, but I think you should still try. And also, I don't know if you know Bree Lever. She founded Ember Consulting. Yeah, okay. So that's my girl.
She just messaged me on Community Club, you know, so
perfectly arranged.
Match.
Yeah.
Is there one question I should have asked you but didn't?
Honestly, no. Your questions were superior. You did your research. You had me stumped several times. So thank you for that. It was very unusual and I love it. I loved it.
Thank you very much for your feedback. And Vicky, I'm so happy to know you better. You know, when I met you in this community world and I saw you in one of the meetings we were together, I was like, I definitely have to talk to her. So that's exactly what we just done. So thank you very much for being so open, for being so smiley, for like being honest, for being you. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. This was really fun. I am being truly true right there. This was very fun.
And I have a lot of questions to ask you more, so we'll definitely have a volume 2 sometimes.
Okay, I'm ready.
Cool. So thank you very much and see you in the community world.
See you there.
Bye.